Been telling you for the last couple weeks here about the HSBC Sevens Vancouver, the best party in town, celebrating 10 years, the longest running event of this size and scale in Vancouver, and it's all starting to get pretty real now, huh? 1 week away from the weekend that is at BC Place, February 21st to 23rd, as we welcome in Jeff Marek of The Sheet, weekdays at noon Pacific time here on the Nation Network, with so much happening. All the news happening here.
Have we seen, is Mike Aruggioni joining USA? Do we have any update on that yet? There's I'm expecting Joey Mullen maybe joins the team. Maybe maybe Papa Kachuk,
Mike Johnson.
Maybe Walt is coming out of the stands. He's gonna come and play. I don't know.
Biz just made the suggestion online. Biz just made the suggestion they should just keep the options open so that you can have people coming in. Imagine
why not
the Canadians dropping in Tom Wilson into this firestorm already. Would that be something or what?
Why not? Absolutely. Just keep that ball rolling. Just keep throwing logs on the fire until we finally get to Thursday here, and we'll see what the starting lineups are. My goodness, what a morning it's been so far.
Yeah,
with updates, and this guy's in, and this guy's not, and this guy's hurt. Or wait a minute, no, he's not. And all of a sudden, here comes a savior from the Vancouver Canucks to replace Charlie McAvoy. And then Vancouver goes and makes a signing. It's one of those Bob Cole, everything is happening kind of days, boys.
Well, what do you think if Hughes plays? How does he affect the U.S. lineup in this game dynamic?
Well, I mean, it's huge. I mean, he's not a similar player to McAvoy in a sense. He's not going to go out and he's not going to drop Connor McDavid. He's not going to be taking runs at guys. But I mean, all of a sudden, your power play's improved. All of a sudden, it becomes riskier for Canada to take penalties against the United States if Quinn Hughes is in there. He makes your team better. I mean, that's the obvious statement. This is, again, provided he's healthy enough here to really go for it. Then this is like Team Canada getting Cale Makar back, and we saw what that did for Team Canada and how that improved them instantly. So all of a sudden, this game has taken on another layer of intrigue here, but we still have another day, guys. We still have another day of more transactions and speculations. But if Quinn Hughes is in the U.S. lineup, this one's massive, and you wonder if all of a sudden, all the attention has been about the Kachuk boys. Is all the attention now going to turn into the Hughes boys, and can they save USA hockey here?
And we should clarify.
Yeah, we don't know that he can play.
We're recording this. Yes. We are not yet clear whether he is eligible to play or whether it's going to take another injury to an American skater, particularly a defenseman, to get him green-lit.
Or someone that just all of a sudden just is falling ill. It's just the damnedest of things.
Things going around. Lots going around. Hey, Jake, how's your back feeling today?
Yeah, Jake Sanderson. Right. Yeah. Maybe, no, exactly.
No? Is that a sniffle? Ooh, you know what? Your Ottawa Senators are making a playoff push here. I don't want to jeopardize you.
And they're going to cry foul and say, "Hey, Canada did it, so we can do it too." Right?
They got the replacement with Harley. Dreger told us yesterday he had people from the league and the PA asking him to report on Harley's whereabouts during their skate in the Brassard the other night. The other morning. Wow, the roster rules of this thing really need to be buttoned down and I think rethought before the next episode.
Look, hang on. There will be no next episode of the Four Nations.
Well, World Cup.
This is the one for the World Cup. Absolutely. 100% on board, but let's not give any pretense here to the fact that this is a complete one and done, or as the great Michael Farber pointed out, it is a tournament without a history and without a future.
Right. So when we last chatted with you on Friday, you were still saying, I still need to see I want to see what I still want to see. Boy, did we see! I mean, and now the lead up as well. The fact that we've got a couple of days to preview and hype up this round two. Is it officially better than you thought it would be?
The tournament itself, no, but the games, yes. Like I know I'm trying to really sort of like I know I'm trying to thread a very fine needle here, but I don't like the nature of this tournament. Having said that, I like it better than the All-Star game or the All-Star weekend. It's kind of like, Terrence McKenna once said, if you consider that if you think that we are descended from angels, you look at the world and you say, what a mess. But if you consider that we're descended from apes, you look around and say, wow, what an impressive development. What an impressive. So, the bar is pretty low that we're looking at. You're like, we're not coming from angels. We're coming from apes here. And so when you measure it that way, it's much better than All-Star Weekend.
I get what you're saying, too, in this regard. Like, the Canadian American women do the rivalry series, which, gets hyped up. I don't like it. It's not worth anything to me. Like I take note of the scores just to sort of see a litmus test of how both teams are trending. But I'm not living or dying on those games. When it's an Olympics, when it's a World Championship, then I am. And I think you're kind of going down that road, aren't you?
So a couple of things there. One, the rivalry series is spread out, and that's probably why it doesn't have the necessary flypaper. So you'll stick to it and go like, yeah, okay, now I'm invested in it, because they play a couple of games, and then they stop and they pause, and it's back to the PWHL, and there's a couple of more games, and so it's spread out through a certain time period here. But if you just had it as a standalone event, best of 5,
right,
and there was a continual schedule over the course of 2 weeks, you'd probably be more invested in
more, but still not all the way.
But the thing is,
you're not winning anything.
Would you not be this way if, again, like we're talking about one and done tournaments here, like we're measuring this off against the Four Nations face off. I just think that I'm still very much of the mind of just give the people what they want. Now, everybody got the final that they wanted here. Okay, like everyone got, like we're getting USA and Canada. That was the desired outcome. My whole point through all of it is like, just why go through with all due respect, Finland and Sweden, why just go through the charade of like, oh, this is somehow an international tournament? So it's not. Just give people what they want. USA can.
Which brings me to my next question. Why not just do a Canada versus USA game as your quote unquote All-Star game every year?
I'm in. Because you'll get a competitive game.
You just tell everybody else, look, we operate in 2 countries.
Yeah.
We're hosting this game in one of Canada or the United States each and every year. European countries for years had advantages in terms of centralization and things like that. This is our one time a year where we get our national teams together and we play one exhibition game, and we'll see whether they imbue it with meaning and stakes and take up the mantle each and every year. But why not just do Canada USA every year?
I'm in.
You guys are
rare genius here from this man.
You guys are of a similar vintage to mine, so you'll remember the Starkist tuna commercials of the late 70s. And there's one that taught me. That's right. There's one that taught me everything I need to know about media, about sports, about marketing. And it's a 30-second spot, and Charlie's sitting there and he's reading Shakespeare, King Lear, Othello, whatever. The big fish comes by and says, Charlie, what are you doing? He says, I'm reading Shakespeare. He says, why are you reading Shakespeare? He says, because then people will think I'm smart. People will think I'm intelligent. And in the line that defines everything that is media and marketing, the big fish says, Charlie, people don't want tuna with great taste. They want tuna that tastes great. We tend to overthink everything. Ray Davies of the Kinks said it best. Give the people what they want. Just give the people what they want. I'm with you. You want to replace the game with Canada versus USA? Give the people what they want. There doesn't need to be a big, huge justification. Well, philosophically, this is why there's blah, 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 blah. No. People want to see this. There's your justification. This is what people want. Do you have the nerve to give it to them? Now, they ended up getting it here in the Four Nations, but just give them what they want off the bat.
Czech stars and the Russian stars, they're going to be just fine on the beaches of Mexico.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Let the other guys help escrow. You guys just chill. The Canadians and Americans help escrow. You guys chill out. Get sand in your toes.
You have enough star power for the sponsors meet and greets, right? With Canada and the United States. It's not like you're missing anything here. Okay, moving on.
Yeah.
Elias Pettersson, pointless in this tournament, is benched. Even with Zibanejad missing, he is moved to the wing and benched in the third period where he doesn't play. We're asking our Surrey Mitsubishi poll question today. Which gamble are you willing to make on Petey? Trade him at low value, hope he improves. Jeff Marek, you're running the Vancouver Canucks. What do you do?
You can't trade him low. You got to cross your fingers and say, you know what, this season's a write-off for a number of different reasons. The drama, the injury, all of it. I think you just write this one off. And I understand that there is the deadline here where you have the freedom to move from where you want. I understand all that. But if you, again, we're talking about a big if here. If you can get Elias Pettersson back to where he was before, and no one knows Elias Pettersson better than Jim Rutherford and Patrick Allvin here. If you believe that there is still that player in there and will play for the Vancouver Canucks like that, then I think you look at this and say it's a write-off. If you think that this has already gone too far and that player is not coming back here for the Vancouver Canucks, you try to create the best possible marketplace you can. But my instinct is always try to make it work. I understand the pressure point and the no move. But if I'm the Vancouver Canucks, I'm still trying to make this one work for Elias Pettersson and this team. I know that might be a very unpopular decision.
For this prolonged a dead spot, like Teemu Solana had the off year in Colorado, but it was so clearly injury related.
Yes.
They're unwilling to go down that road here. Can you think of a superstar whose bottom has dropped out that ultimately did come back to form? I'm not ready to go there with Huberdeau here. He's had a nicer season, but that's about as close as I can come.
Yeah, it doesn't happen very often that the bottom completely falls out, and then like I'm just sort of racking my brain here trying to find the obvious example. The problem is who's taking them without retention, right? Like who? It's not like can we get enough assets
you can't retain
back
on 7 years. You can't retain on 7.
Is like well that's it, right?
Yeah.
Like but who's
you have
who's
to take offsetting salary.
Who's taking that? But even with that, like what do you have to attach to it? What do you have to attach to it to make it happen?
I think you just got to take salary back, Jeff. You can't use one of 3 retention spots, or although who knows how many retention spots will be in the new CBA. Yeah. We can't use one of 3 retention spots 7 years.
Do you just hope for amnesty buyouts in the next round of CBA? I know the NHL doesn't like money outside the system.
Right. I think
that's a gamble. It's a gamble. We don't know if it's going to happen.
Look, that comes into play if you keep him through the summer and he has another stinker next year.
Yeah.
And then you know what you're arguing for at the Board of Governors if you're the Vancouver Canucks. Yes, amnesty buyout, please.
Amnesty buyouts for everybody.
Yeah. All right.
Like it's like I get it. It's so miserable. It's like it's just awful. But I again, like I know I'm saying the same thing over and over here. I hate giving up on young players. I've just seen it blow up in teams' faces far too often.
Drew O'Connor with a 2-year, $5 million extension. He'll be paid $2.5 million over the next couple of seasons after this one. What do you make of this extension from the Canucks?
I like him. Good player, good number, especially considering this is going to look like a minuscule number by the time the salary cap significantly rises in a couple of seasons. I like him. I thought it was a smart bit of business, bringing him in the first place, and you knew he was going to get a raise. Valuable guy, bottom 6. I like it. I like it a lot. Like I would have to be like the biggest nitpicker in the world to really go after this one. I like it. I don't see any issue with it. What about you guys?
No speed that nobody else has.
Exactly.
It's important.
They're a team that needs speed. His speed has been evident in the few games that he's played for the Canucks and has been useful. He's a forechecking guy, and if you're playing Rick Tocchet hockey, and I suspect they will play Rick Tocchet hockey next year as well. I think they're going to play. Yeah. Rick Tocchet will be the the coach.
And outside of Dakota Joshua, they've really done well with the bottom six, not handing out long-term deals. Like, you know, so that if...
Well,
if
they
this
thought
blows
McKayev
up,
was top six, but
they thought McKayev was top. If this blows up, it's not a critical error here.
No, it's not.
But I think honestly, I think at the end of the day, he's just a really solid, honest hockey player, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, and there are a lot of teams that'll head into like the draft every year and say, like, look, if the kid can't skate, put him on the do not draft. Like that's the one barrier to entry for a lot of teams at a lot of positions. If you can't skate, put him on the do not draft. If you can't skate, there's no room for you here at the inn. I like him.
Yeah, he can skate, and he's got some size as well. A couple of the elements the Vancouver Canucks are missing. Back on the Four Nations.
Sure.
What's your assessment of how Coach Cooper and the staff have handled the goaltending in Jordan Binnington?
So first there was the Adrian Kempe goal. Then there was the Jake Gensel goal. Then there was the Esa Lindell goal. I know that Jordan Binnington makes it easier to be a defenseman because of how he handles the puck so well. I just don't know that you wouldn't have at some point given Aiden Hill a shot. I thought they might do it against USA. Considering every single game, there's one bad goal. I might be in the minority on this one, but I'm giving him a pass on the Dylan Larkin goal. Like that's just a perfect shot. To me, I look at that one, I say, 9 out of 10 goaltenders at the end, maybe Connor Hellebuck stops that shot, but like from where it is, how it gets off his stick, where it ends up, like that's as close to a perfect shot as you're going to see in the NHL. So I do give him a pass on that. Others would say, this is an international tournament. This is a big stage. You have to make that save. So I think that John Cooper and everybody on that bench understand that the pattern here has been one bad goal every game, because that's what we've seen. And, maybe one of the two Granlund goals, you had a shot at stopping. But I think if
he was a clear front runner, I would totally understand him sticking with this. Why would he not have given himself the education of an Aiden Hill start?
That's normally the way these things work, right? You have a round robin. Each goaltender is going to get one start, and then whoever does better, that's the goaltender that's going to get the third start. I just wonder how much of this was about. This is about helping our blue line because he's a good puck handling goaltender. But at times he's looked so jittery. He's looked so jittery in there. Like maybe just like we've been spoiled, and maybe also we're still thinking about, cool, calm, collected Carey Price in Sochi, where don't worry, I got this. Not, every time a team steps over the blue line, you start to tense up a little bit. But that's what happens. Like when the puck is around the net with Jordan Binnington. Now, in his defense, he has made some 10 bells. Like there have been some saves like, oh, wow, man, needed that one. Got it. Awesome. But it seems as if baked into the pie, you go into the game saying, in our minds, we need to score a minimum of 2. There's not going to be any U.S.-Canada 1-0 game on Thursday.
No.
But that is not a big ask. With this group of offensive players, scoring 2 goals is not a big ask.
I know. But I get that. But the U.S. defense has been incredible. Like that was a clinic on Saturday.
But
like everybody should understand how good Slavin and Faber are.
No question, they did a hell of a job of keeping Canada neutered for the most part after that Connor McDavid goal. Do not tell me that the likes of Connor McDavid, and Nathan McKinnon, and Sidney Crosby, and Sam Ryan, and all this offensive talent can't figure that out. Surely, with the firepower you have offensively, you can adapt here. And fellas, you guys hit it in the midst of your conversation. And I'm going to get accused of being the best lawyer that the lawyer from Prince George has ever had, because I've been defending John Cooper on all of these matters, Binnington related. Herein lies the difference, gents. Mm-hmm. We don't have a Carey Price. We don't have a Marty Brodeur. We don't have a Roberto Luongo.
No.
And so handling things the way we have normally handled things, where you're picking from, Vezina Trophy winner or Vezina Trophy finalist, is not at the disposal of John Cooper and his staff. And so what they have chosen to do is throw their eggs in one basket and say, we believe in you, and try and raise his level up by the belief they're showing in him. And Jeff's 1,000,000% right about his ability to handle the puck. This is what ultimately led to the move to Marty Brodeur over Curtis Joseph at the '02 Olympics, if we all remember that. With a defense, the likes of which Canada can throw out, being able to play defense more easily or transport the puck more easily because you have a goaltender who is so adept at playing it should be a huge advantage. He's on a short leash Thursday. We can all agree on that, right? Like if he lets in a stinker or two.
Okay, I'm curious. Okay, so what does short leash mean? Okay, so and here's how I want to couch it. If you think there's going to be the tournament is dictated. If you think there's going to be one clunker, one goal, like and all the shoulders come down on the bench, and that ends up being the 1-0 goal. Does he have a chance?
If you lose the game 1-0, it is not Jordan Binnington's fault.
I understand that, but
if you lose the game 1-0, there are 18 guys who shoulder a bigger load.
If that's the 1-0 goal, like is that the short leash?
You've got for my money, you've got to live with one clunker. 2, I think you've got to make the move. Also, if you get to a situation where you're down 2 or 3 and it's just you think Aiden Hill can give the bench a spark, then you do it that way. But you ain't got time to bleed. That much is sure. But Blake's mentioned the Grand Fiore example last week. It's effectively what you're looking for here. You don't need the scintillating peripherals. You need the big save in the third, and you've got to score goals. And you should be able to score goals.
I take Grant.
Wouldn't we all?
Current Grant, I mean.
and you know what? I'll give you the example. That Larkin goal. Like if Binnington makes that save, you know whose game goes through the roof? Sidney Crosby. Because it was his high ice turnover on a very un-Sidney Crosby-like play.
Yes.
That led to that one. All of a sudden it's like, all right, Jordan, thanks, man. I got you. All right, that's not happening again. Let's go, boys. Because that is not a Sidney Crosby pass.
Before you go, one last chance to pile on Sweden, who had the most Sweden-esque tournament of all time. They were undefeated in regulation time. Playing 5-on-5 hockey as we know it, they were undefeated in the tournament. They beat the Americans. And you could say, the Americans were missing A, B, and C.
And had nothing to play for.
Right, but
that's important.
But Sweden could have had that.
That was. Sorry, go ahead, Blake. I'm cutting you off.
Well, if Sweden beats Finland in overtime,
I know.
America still has nothing to play for. Maybe it still goes down, and Sweden takes points there and makes the final. Maybe it's a Sweden-American final. It's right there for Sweden.
You're so right about this is such a Sweden tournament. And we see this at every single level. I mean, I cannot
undefeated in the World Juniors, can't make a final.
Can't make the final, can't win the gold. And then they get the silver, and Elias Pettersson is throwing it into the stands. And it's like, look, I can't tell you how many times I've predicted Sweden for great things internationally. I love the players, love the teams, like all of it, but it just doesn't, for whatever reason. It's Charlie Brown on the football for Sweden. And listen, last night, still like pouring it on the again, a great game by, I always look at individual players and great games that they turn in. That was a hell of a game for Sammy Ersson in a really difficult year for Sammy Ersson with the Philadelphia Flyers. I thought that Joel Eriksson Ek had a really good tournament. I thought that Adrian Kempe had a really good tournament for Sweden. Again, another good tournament from Victor Hedman. You wonder about the age here a little bit from certain players on the back end, but some really good individual efforts from Sweden. But Blake, I think you put it right. It was the most Sweden of tournaments for Sweden. It really, really was. And the takeaway for a lot of people is going to be what we already talked about. What's going on with Elias Pettersson? It did nothing to calm down any conversations.
No.
As a matter of fact, if anything, it's focused the attention more on him. The opposite of what everybody was hoping for heading into this thing. I feel bad for the guys. Bad enough this year.
Yeah. And still 30 games to go. We'll see what happens.
Jeff?
Yes.
Jeff? Look at me.
Yes. All right. You and me. Eyes to eyes. Here we go. Locking horns. Here we go.
We're not going to lose. We have the best player. We have the best coach. We have the best defenseman. If Hughes doesn't play, we're not going to lose. We don't lose these games anymore.
Are you trying to convince me or convince yourself?
What do you say? What's your prediction? Or are you saving it for the sheet?
I think Canada wins this thing. I think it's really hard. I think if Canada would have won on Saturday, I would have said the same thing about the United States that I'm about to say about Canada. When you have elite teams like this, it's really hard to beat them twice, because Canada's going to make the adjustments here as well. So I'll take Canada in the final, and it'll I don't think it's going to be like a blowout or anything, a 5-1, like game's over halfway through the second. I think it's going to be a close one, but I think this is a Canadian victory come Thursday. Tough to beat teams 2 in a row. It's tough. It's really hard.
And here's the other thing. They might argue they have the best goaltender in the world. He has not been great in pressure games in the Stanley Cup playoffs.
It's his chance, if you want to focus more positively, if you're a Winnipeg Jets fan, it's his chance to rewrite the career. It's time to change course here for Connor Hellebuyck. But yeah, we talk so much about, history and patterns and developments and trails. That is, I cannot dispute that. No one can. It's 100% true.
He is 2-12 in his last 14 Stanley Cup playoff games.
I will say this about the U.S. defense. They keep the puck away from him. And as we saw Saturday, it's one shot and then either high off the glass, breakout pass, or skated out of the zone. That U.S. defense was so efficient on set. Like the game, the way I've been phrasing it is the game started out as Hagler Hearns, but finished up like Pacquiao Mayweather. Like it just turned into like this sort of defensive struggle after we saw the best 3 rounds of boxing we ever saw.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's a great comparison. Exactly. Why are we dancing around the periphery of the ring? Marvelous stuff, sir. Thank you for this. Enjoy the game Thursday. We'll catch them next week.
Thanks, boys. Talk next week.